Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you for checking out another brand new episode. Today's feature singer songwriter Mark Mackay. Had a lot of fun meeting Mark on Zoom, getting know a little bit more about his story and his brand new Christmas EP that is streaming everywhere right now. So if you are listening to this episode on Christmas Eve, be sure to add that to your favorite playlist and share with your family and friends. And a whole lot more. Hope you enjoy this episode. I do want to remind you, as always, Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Friendship Brewing Company in Wentzville, Missouri, serving up all your craft beer needs. Over 25 rotating taps over there and all kinds of delicious food. You got all kinds of burgers, flatbread, pizzas, nachos, pretzels, all kinds of tasty things. And you can get some great live music on the weekends. On Thursdays, they've been doing a Singo Bingo night out there. And then coming up on December 30th, you can catch Jeff Walchhauser out there. Going into January, keep an eye out for more events starting the brand new year. If you want, you can follow along on Facebook and Instagram and visit friendshipbrewingcompany.com for all their info for their beer menu, their food menu, and their music calendar. And great news, if you are in the Hannibal, Missouri area, Friendship Brewing Company is coming to you, opening a brand new location in 2023 in Hannibal, Missouri. So keep an eye out. More info coming soon. But get involved with them again on the socials. FriendshipBrewingCompany.com, located in Wentzville, Missouri. Swing in there and get yourself a cold beverage. If you need anything from me, you can always find me at rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the socials. Email me at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And a big thank you to everybody that's been listening. I really, truly appreciate your support. Thanks for being here with me, whether this is your first time or you've been here a long time. I'm glad you're here. And hope you have a wonderful holiday with some friends and family, and a happy new year to you. And I'm excited to see what 2023 has in store for Rock Paper Podcast. With all that out of the way, sit back, relax, enjoy this brand new episode with Mark Mackay.
Podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
Hey, everybody, this is Mark Mackay, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Scissors beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats scissors, Shane covers nonstop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, hanging out via Zoom with Mark Mackay. Welcome
What's
to the
up?
show. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. St. Louis. We should have just met up in person. I drove right past you last night.
Yeah. That would have been cool, man. Except for I was stuck at work till like 2 a.m. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you? You said you're in Kansas City this morning.
Yeah, we're just the trek to start our Christmas tour, which is mostly in the Rockies and on the other side. Got some stuff to do in Colorado tomorrow, but we're just the I was going to say the move has started, but
Yeah.
the bus is rolling.
So where is home? What is where?
Nashville's home.
Okay.
Although behind the steering wheel is really more home,
Yeah,
the
for
amount
sure.
we're on the road. But Nashville's home. It's been home since 2017. California was home before then.
Mhm.
And we play everywhere in the country. So there's so many places I sort of feel like are home,
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, let's take me back to that journey, as you growing up, and kind of what like gets you to Nashville. Like, what do you how do you know that was like the move for you to make that jump?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's actually a story I love telling. So I was living in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and I was at that time. It was a while ago. At that time, I had been doing some touring as myself, but a lot of it was I would jam with some other people or whatever, And so this girl asked me to come out and accompany her in Nashville, and I always remember I thought, it'd probably be cool to check the city out because everyone kind of talks about Nashville, But so I landed decently late at night, and I always remember I took a cab to where my hotel was, which was sort of near Broadway, and it was really more midtown. But everybody said you got to go down and see all these honky tonks and stuff, And I had never been there before, obviously. So anyway, I always remember getting out of the cab and just going. I didn't know what it was, but there was just an energy, and I was like, I have to move here. I don't, and I came back and I told everybody, I said, I have to move there. And people were like, really? You love everywhere you go, whatever. I said, there's something about it, Well, so we ended up getting put on a tour with Ted Nugent in I think it was 2017. And one of the dates was at the Ryman. And I had been kind of itching to move there. But once we got confirmed at the Ryman, I just made the move. Now that I have lived there, now that I live there, I understand what that was drawing me. It's just that outrageous amount of musical creativity that's everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you've been to Nashville. There's just nowhere where there isn't history or writers, artists, singers, everywhere, at every turn, from the minute you land at the airport. So as an artist, I understand why it kind of pushed me in that direction,
Yeah. Yeah. It's that is one thing I mean, I talk about it a lot with other artists, and I think like that's the great thing about that city is just like the ability to network so easily with the great writers and players and everything. There's just like so many others down there chasing the dream too, and
totally
willing to make something great happen. So
yeah, the network of creative is I always chuckle about that. Like, we go on the road and we have a great time on the road. And typically people will always show us great restaurants. We'll stay in really great hotels. We'll hang in great clubs. I mean, it's just play these historic venues. It's all cool. But I can't believe how productive I am when I get home to Nashville, just because, there's always things you have to get done on your music. And it's just instantly there's co-writers, there's producers, there's meetings, just all of a sudden it's game on the minute you get back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I don't know. That's cool, man. St. Louis has kind of got a similar feel, I would say. I don't play, but I'm just a super fan, but I think we are maybe I feel a little overlooked. There's a huge, on a long list of legacy here. We have all kinds of greats dating, way back, and then we have like, a really thriving scene right now, and across the board we got all kinds of different genres represented and stuff, and it's just fun to see the city doing something. And finally I think like we're getting to that point that I think like, I don't know, I've been saying for a while, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer, but like to being recognized as like a Nashville or an Austin or something, like one of these more bigger music cities and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's all the power. I'm sure. It's weird. I'm kind of nodding along with you because I'm sure it's true, and I've heard other people say that. Somehow we've never played in St. Louis. We played like every city in this country 1,000 times, and just somehow the routing's never lined up.
Yeah. Well, we'll make that happen, man. It'd be fun.
That'd be way fun.
But I think there was like an article just a bit ago, like on USA Today or something, one of those, like that was saying like even like in the arts, like in theater and stuff, they have some like various theater people were moving here and stuff to St. Louis. So I think a lot of it's just being that cost of living is a lot more reasonable here in the Midwest compared to your coastal cities. So
I joke about that all the time. It's like I grew up in California, and I shouldn't speak for all Californians, but I imagine their experience was similar to mine. It's like you're in high school, and if you're in high school in Northern California, the only place you think there's college to go to is in Southern California, and vice versa. And so Californians, we just love California. You just bounce up and down. You have it's an amazing state. And then one day somebody, and it might have been a pandemic, for example, but one day somebody says, we should go out and check out some of these other places. And they go to Denver, and they go to St. Louis, and they go to Nashville, and they go, I can live here for half the price, and everything's so cool, So it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but yeah, man. We have a brand new Christmas EP from Mark, and just released a little bit ago, and you are out on tour to support that right now. And I figured that might be a good place to start. With this, get into that a little bit. And it's a 3-song EP, and you also put an original on there. So I figured let's start with this song, man. Get everybody a little into the holiday spirit. This is Christmas Time is in the Air. What would you like to tell us around this song?
Well, I just the deal with me making a Christmas record was I love Christmas time. I love Christmas music. I actually sometimes listen to it all year round. It always puts me in a good mood. But I didn't want to do a Christmas record just for the sake of doing one. I wanted there to be kind of a purpose. So one purpose was that we're going on, we were looking at doing our first Christmas tour. So that made a lot of sense. The second was I had a vision for last Christmas. I've had that vision for a long time to be sort of a more up tempo, a little bit of coastal rock feel to it, but you also don't have a record unless you have an original when it comes to this stuff. And so Jeffrey Steele and I, he's obviously a monster, and he's helped me with it. He's just a phenomenal writer. And we were texting one night, and I was, we were saying it had to be fun. It had to be up tempo. It had to feel like there were kind of carolers coming. And what's funny about it is that the thing people say the most, which I take as such a compliment, is people always think it's a cover of an old classic because it's got a familiarity. It's got this kind of, I don't want to say rocking around the Christmas tree because it doesn't sound like it, but similar kind of happy up tempo vibe. And so that was really what capped the whole project, made it make sense.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I was unaware that it was an original until you said that. And so, but that's, and I mean, yeah, it's like definitely a credit to yourself that, you were able to make it sound like one of those, classics that we've grown up with. But also like I feel like there's so many like kind of like deep cuts with some of these, like, you could have pulled something, and made it a little, put a new twist on it, and people wouldn't know the difference. But I think that's the fun about it though, is like, writing something original and making it sound like everybody knows the words already to it and stuff. And totally.
Yeah, and that was what we did with Last Christmas. Took something that's a great melody, great chord structure, and familiar to people. Because it is funny because that is one thing that is frustrating. Like I've heard new Christmas songs from people that I don't like, and that's the nature of it. There's people that aren't going to like my single either, But whenever I'm discovering a new Christmas record, or one of my favorite artists put out a Christmas record, I enjoy hearing their spin on songs that, that's half the fun, is that you can kind of sing along to some, and so I'm glad we got Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas on there. And we got Last Christmas on there, and the streaming platforms have really liked the new tune that kind of has this very up tempo bounce about it. So makes you dance.
Christmas time is in the air. The trees are lit, the spirits everywhere. Snow is piling, kids are smiling, and all the world is frozen in a prayer. Church bells ringing, carolers singing, deck the hall with boughs of holly. 'Tis 'tis the season to be jolly. Trees are lit, the spirits everywhere, yeah. Christmas time is in the air. Hold on to all the ones you love and hold so dear. Tight as you can, let the memory haunt you through the year. Church bells ringing, carolers singing, deck the hall with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Trees are lit, the spirits everywhere, yeah. Christmas time is in the air. Hold on to all the ones you love and hold so dear. Tight as you can, let the memory haunt you through the year. Church bells ringing, carolers singing, deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Trees are lit, spirits everywhere, yeah. Christmas time is in the air. Yeah, the trees are lit, the spirits everywhere, yeah. Christmas time is in the air.
Well, like I said, it's on the streamers now, available wherever you get your digital music at, and check that out. Well, speaking of like Christmas, though, like what for you, like what would you think, like is it a song, is it a movie, a dish? What for you? What put you like into the Christmas spirit? Like, is there a certain thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little all of the above.
Right.
I mean, I really do love Christmas. I love Christmas trees. I love decorations. I love all the obvious movies. But what I have learned is that our life is so chaotic, and it's always been chaotic for me. It was chaotic before I was a full-time touring artist. That's what is the most Christmas spirit for me, is that you feel everything slow down. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, about 5 days ago, I started waking up and I didn't have 26 text messages and 19 emails,
Right.
And you just start to realize that, you start calling people and they're kind of happier. Some people have just maybe gotten their bonus at work. Some people are got time off work. They're spending time with their family. That always just gives me a minute to just go, oh man, all that work we did, we can just kind of decompress for a little bit. That's really what puts me in the Christmas spirit, which as we're heading out on a Christmas tour, we're going to play for the next 10 days. It explains why I'm not in that much of a Christmas spirit at the moment.
Do you get so do you go back home to follow?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. My family's still in California. So when we're done with our Christmas tour, does like Utah, Idaho, Wyoming. And then I go home and see my family, which is Valerie, my girlfriend's family, is in Santa Cruz, California. Mine is in the mountains in Lake Tahoe for Christmas. Nice. So that's where we always do Christmas. And then every year between Christmas and New Year's, I do a show up there in Lake Tahoe where we give all the money to the local music school.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So we got that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've done a couple. I did like as a Toys for Tots kind of benefit show concert here in St. Louis, and then then I was in 18 and unfortunately in 19 my mother got sick with brain cancer, and we did a benefit for her that year, and then she passed in December of 19, and then I've since after when we could start doing it again in 21, I did another benefit in her honor and helping raise money for some others in need dealing with brain cancer. So I'm trying to keep that rolling as like a annual event and try to
put us down to play that next year.
I'm yeah, man, it was that. So anyway, it feels good to do those kind of those
Totally.
benefit shows and give, support the community and stuff and in various ways. So, but yeah, especially supporting some kids that want to play music. Like I'm all for that, man.
Yeah. It was music school is where I started. So I kind of have a special place for music education, but what kind of blows my mind, and I don't mean it in a negative way, even though I guess you could maybe take it that way. But a lot of times I tell people out there that we're doing a benefit for the local music school. People go, "Oh, there's a music school here?" And I go, "Yeah, that's why we're doing the benefit, so that you just found out about it."
Yeah.
And it's just important to get the word out about that. It's important to give kids an outlet to, whether it's songwriting or actually just working on their instruments. It's good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, you so what was it for you? Like, was you saying in that school where you started, but was it songwriting or was it guitar playing or what was your intro?
Well, it was guitar playing that pushed me personally over the edge to want to do this. It was my parents forcing me to take piano lessons that made it all start. We were not allowed to do anything in our house if we weren't in piano lessons, period. So I took classical piano lessons from when I was I'd have to guess I was 7 years old or 8 years old because I got a guitar when I was 9. So it was a little bit before that, but I always played music. I always loved it. And then one day you feel that, what's the word? You feel the push to want to understand it more. You start playing things going, that chord sounds really good with that chord. I wonder why that is, and then it's just a spiral from there. Right.
So when do you discover wanting to get more into songwriting? Like
songwriting became an out, I think most people at some point in their life might probably try to write a song at some point. So I did my share of writing stuff that was not very good, and I didn't know what I was doing, but it was never a major creative outlet for me. I had a sort of normal person job for a little bit there before I gave all that up to be a full-time musician. And especially towards the end of that, where I could sense that I was about to make a big change in my life and I was going to abandon everything I had done before. And I was going to go after the dream of being a touring artist. That was where songwriting really became ultra important. I was a little bit older, meaning I wasn't 14 years old in my room, writing stuff. But that was definitely a creative way to start feeling like I had a purpose.
Yeah. It's something I'm real passionate about. Like I don't write, but it's I love songwriting. I love the lyrics and stuff. I'm really here in St. Louis for 3 years. I ran a songwriter showcase. It's kind of doing like the Bluebird, kind of thing, kind of like three writers on stools playing acoustic and storytelling and I was always like that's something I'm always really been close to my heart, and it's just so I really enjoyed going through a bunch of your songs, your catalog, and really diving into the lyrics and lyrical content and stuff. And
thanks, man.
Yeah, it was so it's just something fun. It's like I don't know. I think it's a cool way to connect to an artist, even though we've met now, but it's like you kind of get some of your stories through those songs, even if maybe they aren't all necessarily 100%
autobiographical.
Yeah, but you still get an idea like who you are and what you represent and stuff through your music. So
totally. I hope you got that I'm a West Coast influenced country rock guitar player.
yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
But there's you have a newer original also, not Christmas themed. This came out for the summer, but Summer Slowdown is one that I thought was a lot of fun. Just And I think it's one of those that everybody can relate to, man. We're all if you're most of the time when you probably started when you were a kid and you're like, first you're falling in love or whatever that summer and stuff, met some person or whatever, and think you just want to spend all the time with them that you can, and then all of a sudden school's
all over
back up and stuff.
Yeah. It's funny, it's the only song I ever put out that I was totally not a writer on. It's an outside cut. It was written by Jeff Steele, Wendell Mobley, and Neil Thrasher, who are three of the biggest heavy hitters in the town. They've written bazillions of huge hits for everybody. And the reason I cut it is because what you just described is it's my favorite emotion to sing and think about. I think that there's I think back to like my younger days, and that kind of, you go on a trip, whether it's with your family or it's your friends, or whether it's college or high school or whatever, or even it doesn't even have to be a time period, but you go on a trip and you meet somebody, and just from the minute you connect with them or you lock eyes with them or you have a conversation with the bar, and all of a sudden you go, is there something here, and there's this magic that can last for a long time, and it can last for 2 days, and then it's got to end. And I think songs that are about that sort of summer fling, I just think it's one of the coolest emotions. I've always thought that. I don't know why. And so obviously the song just captures exactly that emotion. And when I heard it, I just said, that's got my name written all over it. Jeffrey, who pitched it to me, thought the same thing. So it sounds like a Mark Mackay track. So we did it.
About her lips, heading for Ole Miss, leaving me like this, staring at tail lights. No. Yeah, I could use a little more late day, watching the midway light up her face, staying up all night, if it's alright. Summer, slow down, keep that sun shining on her just a little longer. Come on, stretch it on out. No, I ain't ready to watch her Chevy drive away. Summer, slow down. June just turned into July, and July flew by. I don't want goodbye, messing it all up. More skin wet, centerfold silhouette, killing that sunset. Hey, what's the rush? I waited long enough. Summer, slow down, keep that sun shining on her just a little longer. Come on, stretch it on out. No, I ain't ready to watch her Chevy drive away. Shining on just a little longer. Come on, stretch it on out. No, I ain't ready. I ain't ready. Summer, slow down. Keep that sun shining on her just a little longer. Come on, stretch it on out. No, I ain't ready to watch your Chevy drive away.
Yeah, but yeah, this great tune, and I don't know. It's just, especially now, in December, it was fun to hear here for the first time and just like immediately like go back to thinking about summer vibes, just ready to get back to the beach and do the fun summer stuff that I love to do. So
I was on a plane the other day flying over Colorado or something, and it was like everything was all snow capped, and I put up like an Instagram story of the snow caps with Summer Slowdown playing in the background, and I like confused half my followers. They're like, it's not summer. I was like, I know, that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, you can find the music and the socials and all the things at markmackayofficial.net, you said?
Yep, that's the website. That links you to everything.
Yeah. And so we got some of those, rounding out the 2022 tour dates and stuff, but I was thinking about next year. Your calendar filling up already for
yeah, we got a lot of offers in. We got to sort of solidify it. I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time on the road again. We do have a couple of holds in January, but I think January and February will be a little bit quiet, but I've heard there's some dates with Joe Nichols being talked about in the summertime, and we're already on the books for a few things, but that's a nice thing. Whoever's listening, wherever you are, we go everywhere. So follow along and we'll see you when we're in your town.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Joe and Ted Nugent even getting to share the stage with some cool people. What do you have a particular one that comes to mind? One of the holy shit, this is real.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have an answer for that. And I just want to be clear that I think everybody we have played with has just been wonderful. And I take something from all of them, and I think that they all of them are as big as they are because there were some things that they're really good at, but I will say that one of the most inspiring things I ever saw was touring with REO Speedwagon last summer. Sure. I just think the work ethic and the health and the demeanor of those guys, where, let's be real, a lot of times that band's been around a long time, and sometimes you see those guys and they don't quite sound the same and they don't quite have the same energy, but it's nostalgic, so it's cool. Not those guys. I mean, those guys look like they're doing push-ups before they go on stage. Dave's guitar tone is as good as anything I've ever heard in my life. Kevin's voice is as good as anything I've ever heard in my life. And just watching them in action, every night we showed up to the venues we were playing with those guys, we knew that we were witnessing something that was, this is what we're supposed to do forever. Like these guys, they're really great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that especially like something like that, like kind of seeing the behind the scenes, like you realize how efficiently some of those crews work and how, getting them from stop to stop and it just, you have to just, it's sometimes pretty remarkable how, especially they've been doing it for so long, how they've learned all the tricks and stuff. So how to do it to maximize their efficiency.
We tour a lot with Eli Young Band in the country universe, and those guys too. We love them, and they've been so good to us. And they're another band that I've witnessed everything. I mean, I've seen those guys where the entire band's flights got canceled the morning of the gig, and the crew was already en route to somewhere in California, and the guys were still in Texas, and somehow they fly those guys into wherever they can, and they're taking Ubers all over the universe, and the crew dials it in, and they show up, and everyone's working together as a team, and it's just. All that stuff is it's just great to watch,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's, I imagine that would be, that'd be a lot of fun just to kind of, you getting to share the stage, but then like being able to stand in the wings and watch like, a REO show and stuff like that, getting to watch them do what they do and, be a unique perspective on it from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. It's not my story really, but like there's one of my favorites. Speaking of Eli Young Band, there's one of my favorites from Nashville, Will Hogue. Yeah, he's he's an incredible songwriter, really prolific, and I've been following his career for a long time. But he told a story about going on the road with Eli Young Band to help write some songs. after the success of Even If It Breaks Your Heart.
Yeah.
And he said he was opening. They were on tour with Kenny Chesney at the time, and he's like said he's they invited him out to like play some guitar on their set, and so he's out there and with Eli Young Band, and playing that Even If It Breaks Your Heart, and of course 50,000 people singing along to it, and he's just like, hey, this is cool. He's like
Totally.
I wrote this motherfucker. So I was correct.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny with Eli Young Band. I feel like music has gone through, and I don't want to say something off color here, but I feel like music has gone through, country music especially has gone through a very interesting period in the last 20 years, 10 years mainly. And I think back to like 10 years ago where like Aldine and Luke and Eric Church and those guys were just starting to explode. It kind of was like very rock with a banjo. And then it kind of morphed into Sam Hunt's direction where the pop elements really became in. And to be clear, I love all of it. I think all music should be celebrated. I think it's great. But Eli Young Band had that Life at Best record. And I tell them this, that Mike Eli's probably sick of me telling him the story because I tell him every time I see him, but they had that Life at Best record that maybe 2009, 2010, it had to be right in that range, And at that time, I feel like we were still taking records with lots of songs and putting them on and listening to them top to bottom. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we do that as much anymore. I think our whole world is more of a single world, a playlist world, a mood world. What's the mood you're in the mood to listen to? And again, it's just the evolution of music. But the Life at Best record from those guys that had Even If It Breaks Your Heart and all those songs, I feel like I can still put that thing on and just top to bottom, it'll tell me a story and take me right back to where I was. I always tell Mike the Fight, which was written with Natalie Hemby, and I forget who else was always my favorite song on that record, but there, when I watch those guys play and watching people singing along to Crazy Girl and Even If It Breaks Your Heart, there's a time in your life that you are brought back to when that happened. So kudos to Will. That's a great cut to be involved with,
Yeah. I just like, I mean, I've been a super fan of that song for a long time. That's another one of those that, mentioning like a Summer Slowdown, where the lyrics, old enough to get there, but too young to get inside. I mean, I think all of us as music lovers were there at one point where, you wanted to go to the show, but you just couldn't even get in the club yet.
Totally.
So there's a lot of relatability in those lyrics also.
Yep.
But yeah, man. So I got a couple of questions and get your take on some of these. They're just some silly thoughts I think about.
Yep.
But what about the day comes along, we got a Mark Mackay action figure. What would you like to see as like your 3 accessories to go with your action figure?
Hey, that's a great question. My 3 accessories is a guitar, a pen, I was going to say a pen for signing contracts because I'm known for always negotiating stuff everywhere I am all the time. So much of our tour gets negotiated from the wheel of a car,
All right.
I'd have to think what the third one is. Probably I'm like way into fashion, so it would have to be some kind of, you know what it would be? I'll tell you what it would be. It would be a turquoise squash blossom necklace that I'm always wearing on stage. They would be my 3 things. Yep. Yeah.
What's the guitar you think? What type of guitar you normally play?
If you had asked me this question like 6 months ago, I just would have said a Telecaster because I always had a Telecaster. And I always used to joke with my guitar buddies that I'm not that like addicted to guitar collecting or whatever. I have my guitars that I like. And now that's totally out the window. I got like 20 of them sitting at the house. I grab guitars based on what I'm in the mood for that night. So today it would probably be a Gibson Firebird, or it would be this, I don't have any strings on it, but I just got this painted. This is a Guild Thunderbird. I just thought it was kind of cool the way it was originally white. You can see the neck, but I had it painted with this kind of red deal. So it's Christmas vibes for the Christmas tour.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks nice.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about them, like, but obviously I love them. I appreciate the art and all the guitars, but I mean, it's something, I just never really grew up in that way. I mean, like my dad played a little bit guitar and stuff, but I just never really never really had that appreciation for him as a kid, I guess. I don't know, or I always loved the people playing them, but just never had that drawn to want to learn more about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was maybe someday I'll get around to learning an instrument and stuff. I was like, but yeah, all right. What about there's another silly one, but if you could, you had the opportunity to go see a fictional band live, who do you think might be that fictional band? Is it from
do you want to know players? You want to know what they do? What do you want to know?
Well, you think of Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, or that's one of my favorites. But I don't know. I just think it's funny that some of these there's so many of these movies and TV shows with these bands on, and stuff that they are real players sometimes in them, but it's just funny. Even a Spinal Tap or something like that, is a big one.
Well, it's funny. I've never thought about that. I don't know if I could answer it on the spot,
Right.
But I will say that I'm such a purist about music that I feel like I never let my brain go into that kind of spot. But I should, because it's fun, But I will say that I did have an idea that apparently has been done by 10 million people. But I love yacht rock playlists.
Oh yeah.
So I always thought that there would have been some kind of way that guys were dressed up in yacht costumes playing yacht rock, and maybe they were the guys from that era. But I just, someone just told me the other day that they were going to see Yachtly Crew or something, and I'm like, well, clearly my idea is long done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yacht rock is it's pretty wild, because I've heard interviews with Daryl Hall and he was talking about how they're now touring bigger shows than they've ever done in their career, and it's just kind of wild to think about how this sound has grown more today than it was 40 years ago or whatever. So it's but the people really dig the yacht rock sound right now. It seems to be I don't know. I think a lot of it
I only have one subtle regret in my career, and that subtle regret was that our Leaving California record that came out in 2021, which is what we put out when we went out with REO. I regret that I didn't lean into that and brand it as a new yacht rock record, because sonically that's what it is. I just, for some reason, I never thought of it, but I think about it all the time now.
Yeah. I think a lot of it for those guys too is especially the longevity of their careers and things. But now those people that grew up listening to music all have kids and stuff, and they're bringing their kids to the shows and so on. So it's it becomes a generational thing too. So I think that's a lot of why those acts are as playing such large arenas and stuff now.
Totally.
But yeah, man, I kind of got a little bit of that vibe. There's definitely some of those tones through the record that you're talking about. Some of those yacht rock vibes.
Yeah, well, none of it, and none of it is an act. And I just, that's one thing about me. I can't fake anything, So I've never really thought of any of that music as yacht rock. That's just music I grew up on that I just sonically love, And it's not John Mayer just put out his most recent record, Sob Rock, that just is basically yacht rock. It sounds exactly like it, So anyway, it's a trip.
I really love what he did with that record too, with having the price sticker on the cover and stuff, all a throwback to actually being on record shelves and stuff like that. And
he is the quintessential artist, and he's 1 in a billion. If anyone's listening that just never got into John Mayer or knows him for a couple of his hit songs or whatever, you are talking about, it doesn't collide like that very often. To have his persona, his songwriting ability, his talent, his looks, his creativity, all hitting at once, that is like literally 1 in a billion stuff that he does. It's crazy.
Yeah. I really appreciate him as an artist. I mean, like, you look at like how much his career kind of runs the gamut. You know, like he's got blues. He's playing with the Dead. He's done it all pretty much. He's all kinds of covered every genre almost. And
yeah.
So I really but and the fact that he's like has a sense of humor about it all too. Like he's
totally.
He seems like just a great hang, and seeing him on Chappelle's show back in the day and everything else. And so it was he seems like a lot of fun too, along with being an incredible musician.
Yep.
All right. Is there and maybe that's even the answer, but do you have a dream duet or collaboration? Is there somebody that you always wanted to work with?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. There are two distinctive ones. I've always wanted to do something with Vince Gill, and I've always wanted to do something with Richie Sambora. And that's partly because guitar collaborations are what I always just sort of make me, the idea of playing guitar solos alongside of somebody I love and kind of writing that part like a song is really it. But Vince, I've always had this idea of doing this, and I think I have the song for it. I talked to him about something else a couple of weeks ago, and I should have asked him, but I didn't. But and Richie, he's just my favorite guitarist of all time. So I've always wanted to put out something, maybe have him sing some belting harmonies like he did in Bon Jovi, and we'll just take some turns shredding on a guitar.
Was that one of your first loves as a kid, listening to those Bon Jovi records and stuff?
Bon Jovi was the first concert I ever went to. Actually, nice. I think it's funny because I haven't really paid attention to a lot of his newer stuff, but when I do see videos, especially videos back a little bit, like the Crush tour, and even stuff as far back as Slippery and Wet and the original good stuff, I look and I go, gosh, it's unbelievable how influenced I am from his live show. Just because I just remember loving the show so much, the chemistry between him and Richie, the lighting, the way they run the stage. I think that's they're my number one.
Yeah. My first one I ever recall my mom, taking me to it, that asking her to take me to, was Matchbox 20 in 1997.
Yeah,
with,
so killer.
Semisonic and Soul Asylum.
Wow.
So, and of course that was like a huge year for Matchbox 20 and stuff with that record.
Huge year.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But yeah, that was the first one. I was like, I remember that record being, a big part of my life at the time, and but yeah, that's the same kind of thing. Like I still love those songs, and but I don't know, like you touched on earlier, like listening to albums. I mean, I feel like it's definitely something that at the time, like that's what I would, and I still do it as a listener. There's a lot of the great records that I do listen to, beginning to end with, but I do feel like we've kind of gotten away from writing complete records and like that and stuff. So,
I mean, I know people still do it. I just think in kind of our mainstream music consumption world, it's sort of over,
Yeah. But yeah, I know like, obviously there's a bunch of them, but like a lot of it's in that country vein. I think like there's like, Stapleton and stuff. And, he puts out full great records and stuff, all kinds of great songs on them. And I don't know, but yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I think maybe like with that some of those guys are still using vinyl as for media and stuff. A lot of those guys are putting their stuff on records now still.
Totally.
So, I think that's a lot of it, having that A side, B side. I think a lot of people and maybe in the pop world aren't, besides like Taylor Swift and Adele. I know they put records out, but on vinyl, but I think a lot of people aren't really thinking of media that way. They're thinking about Spotify playlist and stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah, so true.
So it just depends on how you're wanting to put your music out there, and I think that's what's kind of cool about today's world that we live in. We do have, I know people, with all the Spotify Wraps all came out and stuff a little bit ago, and everybody was kind of rips on Spotify and stuff but it's like, I don't know, I think any of them, they're great tools for any artist. Like, it's a great introduction. It's not like a means to getting you a career, but it's a good way to introduce an artist. And then if you like them, buy the music, you buy the t-shirt, buy the concert tickets, do that way to support and stuff. But I think
it is funny. It goes both ways. My girlfriend Valerie and I are so different about how we consume music, and a lot of it is probably because I'm in the thick of it every day. I'm constantly hearing stories and meeting people, and I'm always a degree of separation away from. I mean, once you're deep in this enough, you hear a song come out on the radio, and you know exactly the piece of the puzzle about how that came together, how that writer did this, who it was pitched to, and I mean, you'd go on forever. But it's funny, like with Valerie, she actively seeks out her curated playlists on Spotify where they're pitching songs at her based on her likes, and she discovers artists that way. Right. Exactly. And I think it's cool. She shows me a lot of new music that she discovers because of that. Here's the negative. I go on tour with somebody and I say, hey, I'm opening for so-and-so. And she goes, never heard of him. And then she comes to the show and the song plays and she goes, I love this song. Oh, yeah. That's the danger of our thing, is that to me, a lot of it's all becoming a little bit passive to people, right? You're listening to music based on the mood. And there was a time where the industry was saying, well, how many streams do you have? Now the industry's saying, well, how many of those people are actively listening to you versus it just being on in the background, and you're like, God, to me, the only way to still do this is you go out and you play shows and you shake people's hand after the show and you sign posters and say, we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Yeah. I don't know what else there is. In my opinion, it's the only way it works. Yeah,
I agree. I think, having actual interaction with an artist, like that, goes a lot farther than anything else. Getting to having that personal experience. That's why I like St. Louis music so much, is because I can actually go see my friends around town playing a couple times a month if I want, and get, after the show I get to say hey and get a picture, get to talk to whatever. It's like whatever, all that whole experience you want, you can have that with when you actually go to shows like that. So
yeah. We're unraveling a new unraveling. I don't know if that's the right word, although it actually almost literally makes sense. But we have some new posters that we had printed for the merch booth. I've actually never sold posters, but we did them on nice cardstock. They're really well done. And the reason I'm doing them is because there's always, I honestly, I'd like to meet every fan who comes to a show. A lot of times I can't meet all of them, but a lot of people don't realize that the first thing I do when I'm done is get out to the merchandise booth so that I can meet as many people as I can and sign anything anyone wants. Yeah. And I'm a pretty approachable person, and I just love making fans that way. So we're putting these posters in the merch booth because we want to tell people that you buy this poster, and when the show is over, you just hang right here, and Mark will be right here to sign this thing for you. And I'm hoping we can keep it going for that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, save me one. I want a poster.
You got it, dude.
Yeah. Well, you hopefully we'll get you here in St. Louis, man. We can hang out and I'll show you around the city and get some Emo's pizza. And
oh, dude, it's so funny. It was the next thing I was going to say. I was waiting for you to finish talking, then I was going to say, I have a question for you. Do you like Emo's pizza? That's so funny. Yeah.
I'll every now and then, I'm not like it's funny that it's like everybody's St. Louis
thing.
Trademark thing, but it's an acquired taste, I think, like with the Provel cheese on there and stuff. But I'm more mozzarella, I think. But I like it all. For me, pizza is pizza. You can't really go too wrong with pizza. Even bad pizza is still pretty good. So,
so true.
I'm more of like I love going up to Chicago and getting the deep dish too. I like I like it all. So, but
best ever. Well, we'll hang when we get ourselves to St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I hopefully we'll make that happen here in the next year and show you around town, and it'd be fun to hang out and catch up and get to see the show live, man. I haven't got to see your show yet, so I'm That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, stay in touch. We'll get you out for one of those. Or if you're ever traveling and we're playing somewhere, just shout. We'll make it happen. I appreciate the chat today, man.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, Mark. I really appreciate you taking some time to hang with me. And again, visit markmackayoofficial.net for all things Mark, and hit him up on Facebook and Instagram. And but yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this. It's been cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mark.
Nice meeting you, bud. You guys take care.
Nice meeting you.